So this guy is trying to buy my dirty underwear on the internet. Girl boss, look out. Women in STEM. But I think I might have screwed it up with my personality. So he's like giving me the whole rundown. He's telling me all the stuff and all the rules, and at the end he goes, "Any questions?" And I go, "Just one. How do I report this on my taxes?"
Welcome to Wild and Sublime, a sexy spin on infotainment, no matter your preferences, orientation, or relationship style. Based on the popular live Chicago show, I chat about sex and relationships with citizens from the world of sex positivity and comedy. You'll hear meaningful conversations, dialogues that go deeper, and information that can help you become more free in your sexual expression. I'm sex educator and intimacy coach, Karen Yates. Our monthly Patreon supporters pay for a large part of our operating expenses. Their contributions from $5 on up help us big time. Plus, members get discounts on show tickets and merch and receive Wild and Sublime news before anyone else and more. Interested in helping us spread the message of sex positivity? Go to patreon.com/Wild and Sublime. Hey folks, welcome to Wild and Sublime, coming to you from the Lincoln Lodge podcast studio as part of the Lincoln Lodge podcast network. Episode 3 of season 5, we will be talking sex today with Chicago-based comic Gena Gephart. And just to let folks know, this conversation gets pretty intense around bodily fluids. Content warning. I suggest you do not listen to this while eating. If you are a sensitive type, you might not want to listen to this episode, or have a friend listen for you and tell you what happened. But before we start, I want to say that we are recording on the lands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, also along with many other tribes that were here colonially known as Chicago. On to our guest, Gena Gephart. Gena pursues writing, stand-up, and sketch comedy. She has opened for comics like Atsuko Okatsuka, which I saw, and her opening act was fantastic, Colin Jost, Michael Che, and Pete Holmes, and is a cast member at the Lincoln Lodge. She has also written for Reductress and Thought Catalog. Gena produces a monthly all-lady storytelling show at Lincoln Lodge called Ladylike, and hosts the weekly Ladylike podcast, a podcast where women, non-binary, and femme-identifying individuals tell their most disgusting stories. One of her upcoming projects is she is currently taping for OnlyFans TV, coming out soon, and we will get to that later. Welcome, Gena.
Thanks for having me.
It's really good to have you. I have been poring over your Instagram and YouTube, so we're gonna be getting into that. So what I really like now about interviewing comedians is we have been getting into stuff that we haven't covered yet on our podcast. So I'm just gonna jump in. So one of the things that comes up a lot in your act is bodily liquids, bodily fluids. And on your website, you have a very funny essay called "You're a Feminist, You Idiot." And so it was written a while ago for Thought Catalog. I liked it because it had a lot of Game of Thrones references. So
that makes sense.
It was quite good.
I was really into Game of Thrones.
So
at the time.
In that essay, you set up an FAQ, so where you're answering questions that about whether the reader is feminist or not. And in the essay, the question is, I won't have sex with a woman if she's on her period because I think it's gross. Am I still a feminist? And you answer, of course, there's a common misconception that one cannot be both a feminist and a raging idiot. And that simply isn't true. Rest assured that just because the sight of a little pussy blood, or free lube as we call it in the biz, causes your boner to shrivel like a salted leech does not mean you're not a feminist. So I I bring it up because I thought it was very funny, but also because, your bodily fluids, vaginal fluids, a lot of that is kind of one of the things you talk about a lot in your act. And so I kind of wanted to get into, why you go after that, like why that is a kind of a piece of your comedy.
I think also that part I kind of forgot about that I wrote that. It really was like 2016 or something.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
A long time. But that's something a guy literally said that to me one time at a bar. He was like, because that's just the way I would pick fights at bars back then. In 2016. I'd be like, "You think you're not a feminist? Well, guess not. I got news for you, asshole." But yeah, no, that was really something he said to me. He's like, "Well, I won't have sex with people on their periods, so think I'm still a feminist?" I was like, "What?" Yes, you fucking weirdo. But no, I think I just like talking about it because it's like, for like, especially like growing up, it was like such a source of shame for me, and I was very much unaware. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention during sex ed or if we didn't cover it very well, but like I didn't think like when I started experiencing vaginal discharge, I was like, I'm the only one that this happens to, and this is so embarrassing, and I need to like hide it from, like I couldn't bring myself to like talk to my girlfriends. Like growing up, we would talk about like everything else, but for some reason I always like, there's a little piece of me when I want to be like, hey, at the end of the day, is there some stuff on your underwear? And but I couldn't bring myself to like bring it up, and so I just thought I was the only one doing it. I was so embarrassed, and yeah, so it's like, I don't know, I think it's fun to talk about, especially like when you're doing stand-up. It's like half the room maybe doesn't even know it's a thing, so that's fun for them to be like looking at their girlfriend, their girl's like, yeah. And then the other half of the room is like, we experience it every day, and then we don't talk about it, so it's fun to be like, the elephant in the room, elephant in my underwear.
Yeah, I mean, what I noticed, like, because I was reading comments, because I love to read comments for, on people's acts, is like, it's a weirdly divisive issue. Even women were like, this isn't funny, and other people were like, this is really funny. And like, do you experience it when you're working the room? Like how do you experience it when you bring it up?
The discharge joke, I mostly get a really good response. I've even like, when I'm in like the burbs or like somewhere not as liberal as like the city, I'm like, is this gonna bomb? And it usually goes. I mean, I feel like it's it kind of like, oh shit, sorry. I feel like it kind of whoops toes the line between like, it's like it is like a dirty sex joke in a way. So like, people will be like, oh, haha, dirty potty mouth joke. But then at the same time, it is like, this is like this, I feel like you're just like taught to like feel ashamed of your body, like as a woman, like all the, like subconsciously, I feel like most women feel some kind of shame. And then, so it's like, half like, kind of affirming, and then half, but it's also half like, hoo-wee, la, la, like,
yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because it's like when you said, I don't know if I missed this in sex ed, I don't recall any. I mean, I got a rather okay amount of sex ed in high school, but I don't remember any conversation about bodily fluids.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah, I remember learning what an erection was. Because I remember a light bulb went on, because I was like, I didn't know they could get hard, and I knew sex was putting a penis in a vagina. But I was like, how the hell does it get in there? And then you had to like stuff it in, like when you put a sleeping bag, back in the sack. That's what I was imagining. And then I was like, oh, it gets hard. That must be so much easier. But I don't remember learning about. But also when I was like, I feel like when I was learning about, I was super late bloomer, so I probably wasn't experiencing it. So if we talked about it, I didn't care. It's also very uncomfortable to like. We're literally like going around the room like reading out of our like health book, and we each have to do a paragraph, and I'm just like being like, oh fuck, what paragraph am I gonna have to read? Like, it was not very like it was so like, I was kind of like anxious because I was like, if you say the wrong word, this is gonna be so embarrassing. Like, I have to read the word penis in front of the class, like,
yeah.
So I was already kind of on edge. So I don't think I was probably, open to a learning experience.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm kind of freaking out.
I was thinking about about the whole idea of fluids and how there's a whole industry built up around douching and every single type of pad you can have. And they, I remember, when I first started using, feminine products, it was you can use this pad all the time. You can use it all the time. Isn't that great? Not just when you have your period. There can always be a barrier. Oh. So it's I
hate pads. So uncomfortable.
Yeah, so
you can sit on a diaper every day.
Every single day. Isn't that great?
Oh, I love being a woman.
So tell me a little bit about Ladylike podcast and how did it begin and where is it now?
Well, I started doing the live show. This is forever too, 2016, I think. And I always thought it would be, I always had that idea in the back of my head to because some of the I record the live shows, and so it I'll talk to someone and they'll tell me a gross story, and then I'll play one of the live stories from the show, and then during the live show I put out a QR code so people send in anonymous gross stories, and so then I'll read a few of those in the middle. But yeah, it just wasn't I just when I was first starting and I was at an open mic, I was talking to a girl when I first started having a show was very much kind of social currents. I mean, it still kind of is. In the stand-up community, it was people would be what's your credit? What? And it would be this is my bar show. So when they bring you up, they'd be they run a great show, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of want, everyone kind of wanted to help run one or have one. And I just had this idea where it's all women and you tell a gross story. But it was just kind of an idea. And I was talking to a girl at an open mic and she was oh yeah, we should totally do that. And I was we should do that? Because I was kind of I wasn't sure if this is a good idea or not. So yeah, she really lit a fire under my ass, and then yeah, now we've been doing it for years.
I know. I couldn't believe how many episodes there is.
Yeah, I know. I should promote them or something.
Do you enjoy? I mean, is the fire still there, or do you see has the pod moved in a different direction over time?
No, it's mostly been, yeah, it's kind of stayed in the, I definitely opened it up. I used to I would only book women or non-binary comics, and now I'm booking gay men. You come on into it. It's basically just not, Jesus Christ, just not no cis men, but other than that, anyone else can kind of do, or straight cis men. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. I'm just gonna, yeah. So that's kind of probably the only way it's super changed. The technology has changed, actually, though. So I'm it hasn't been, it's been, I don't know how many, 6-ish years or whatever. But originally we'd put out a little piece of paper and everyone would handwrite it, and then I'd collect all these. I still have them at my house, bags of these stories. And now we're doing the QR codes. So that's about it. I think that's the only change.
Oh yeah. I should probably start doing that for my show because usually
nice.
I like having people just write little prompts because they just write little responses, little questions. I actually like seeing their handwriting though, because some people write little pictures or people try to mimic emojis, and that's really cute. So
people will do little when they send in the QR codes. I'll always get a little winky face or whatever. Yeah, I know what you mean. There is something about the handwritten ones. I was thinking, I don't think this would be legal because people filled these out without they didn't sign it. But I thought it'd be a good coffee table book to put these in, and they're they've got a beer stain on the middle and stuff, but all these weird little anonymous stories of and there's some wild ones in there too. So
what are the ones? Are there any stand out for you?
There was one. It's funny because some will be an English major paragraphs. It's perfect punctuation, and then there'll be some where it's I drank my man's piss, blah, out of nowhere, whoa. There was one where this girl, I remember it because it was an event, because when I I read them like in between the comics, and I was reading this one, and it was like this girl that she was like hooking up with her coworker that had a big crush on her, and she was like, he started sucking on my toe, and I was like, okay. And then I asked him to spit on me, and when he spit on her, like, it was all blood. And she had cut the roof of his mouth with her, like, jagged toenail. And then the end of it was like, I didn't say sorry because I didn't ask him to suck on my toe. And the room, like, went crazy. And, like, I normally never, like, try to out people, but I was like, the room went wild. And I was like, if you want to claim this, you totally can. And she stood up and she was like, it was me. And we all, like, cheered. It was, like, a whole thing.
Wow. That's intense.
It was it was a beautiful moment. To be honest.
We'll return to our conversation in a moment. Just a few simple sentences can change your intimate life. Want to know what they are? Download the free guide, Say It Better in Bed, 3 practical ways to improve intimate communication, to get easy tools to put into action immediately. Go to wildandsublime.com to get yours. One of the things I found on your Instagram account was a number of bits about selling your panties.
Oh, yeah.
So what is that all about? Like, how did it start? What is it involved into?
You know, like most things in my life, a pervert on the internet approached me, and I snowballed from there. Yeah, some guy just, like, messaged me out of the blue, and there's this, like, really long text, and, like, he was, like, kind of over-explaining it, to be honest, but and then he was like, so long story short, I want to buy your underwear. And I was like, huh, okay. And, like, it was going to be, like, a good amount of money. I was like, well, I'll entertain the idea. And then it ended up, it, like, never happened. Like, he wanted, like, all these, like, pictures that he wasn't going to pay for, like, to, like, choose which underwear he wanted. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe that might have been really what was happening, but I was like, it kind of feels like you're just scamming me for pictures, and not, which I was more uncomfortable with that than actually sending underwear. But
He wanted pictures of you wearing the underwear or pictures of the crotch?
He wanted pictures of me, like, he was like, okay, buy these underwear, and then I'll pick which one I want, and, like, then I'll buy that one, and you can just have the rest. And I was like, I don't want these. Like, I had to buy, like specific, like, the fucking, like, Kim Kardashian, like, tortilla chip thong, you know, where the crotches. I am not kidding, like, literally this big. It's like a joke. It's not built for the American vagina, but it was like genuinely, like, they're almost like, I'm like, this isn't even these are, like, silly to wear, like. Yeah, and then he was like, but so I want to picture the front and back in the, you know, whatever 4 that you picked, and I was like, no. And then didn't hear back for a while. I lost him.
Did you ever hear back from anyone else, or did anyone else contact you?
When I put the joke out, then some people came out of the woodwork.
And so what happened then?
So there was a different guy, though, that did DM me, and he actually keeps hitting me up. Like, he's always like, just checking in.
Just checking in if you want to buy, if you want
to see if I've reconsidered. No, he buys a lot of stuff. He buys pee and shit, and
from you.
No, he would like to. I was like, I don't think I'm there yet, man. Like, it's puke though that he's really after.
But how much is he willing to pay you?
It's a lot. So okay, the first time that you do it, he pays double. Okay. Because he knows it's, like, a big ask. So he said normally he buys puke for $800. But
puke for $800.
Puke is top shelf. That's
what I would think, because you have to vomit to make it happen.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So, like.
But yeah, he said, so you give me, like, $1,600 to puke.
How much puke?
Oh, I asked him that as well. He said, well, here's the thing though. He wanted you have to eat vegan for 3 days.
Okay.
And then he's like, yeah, and then it's not like a ounces thing. He's like, just have a big meal and then take care of it. And, like, but you don't have to, like, fill it up or anything. But
wait, okay, like, I love the technicalities. Can you go there with me? Like, so, like, but you can't go in a toilet because then it becomes watery. And I'm sorry, sorry to the listener, but you can't go in the toilet. where do you go?
Well, he specifically told me, because I was imagining like one of those like court delis, like, you know, you get like pho in to when you get it to go.
Yeah.
I was imagining that. I was like, plastic, I'll duct tape it shut. Okay, also I was hypothetically if I did that.
Right.
And then he was like, no, it has to be in glass because something about the way the acid like reacts with plastic or whatever.
Yes, that's
then I'm
intense.
like, but now it's in glass. Like, what if it smashes at the post office and these poor workers are
bubble wrap.
I mean, yeah, I know there has to be a way to do it, but yeah, I guess it would have to be in like a mason jar, and you just have to aim well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or puke into a bowl and pour it in.
Because the thing is, it's
so
like
gross.
the times I have puked, you can't really, because it's always been in a toilet for the most part. I can't really ascertain how much there is.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it's less than you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's the contents of your stomach.
Yeah, I have puked a lot before. I feel like I have. It was funny. I told this guy, I was like, I think I'm all good. I think I want to not puke more than I want $1,600. And then I was in Mexico at the time, and then I got food poisoning, and I threw up like a lot.
Did you feel like that was money down the drain?
Yeah, but I was like, I'm not going to take this through customs.
That's right.
That would
that's
like,
very Howard Hughes.
Are you bringing anything home with you? I'm like, it's American.
So how much was he going to offer for the poop and the pee?
I believe it was $400 for a turd, but first time that would be $800. That was weirdly, I found that kind of grosser. Like, I was like, even though it's like, you know, you shit every day, like it wouldn't, or if you're lucky, not all of us do, but even though like that would be like less like invasive, I was just like, imagining some guy was like, holding my turd, I was like, I can't.
Right, knowing where it's going to go. But we say goodbye to our feces every day. We don't know where it goes. We detach from our feces.
In this instance, I do know where it's going, and it's into some guy's mouth, and I don't like that.
But you don't know that. Did he say that? You don't know.
No, I don't know that. I know what he does with the puke, though. Unfortunately, it's way worse than I ever thought. I was imagining. Everyone always they're like, he jacks off with it. I'm like, I don't think he. Well, I was like, he eats it, and because he talked about texture and whatever. So I was just thinking he eats it at home for pleasure, which I think he might also do that. But he told me this is probably you're gonna need a content warning for this because this is kind of disturbing, I think.
What?
I'm
scared.
I know. I asked him, and he was like, "Are you sure you want to know?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm curious. I didn't think it would be this bad." He wrote me like a really long. It's almost like
I'm so scared.
He wrote it in. Apparently, this is what he told me. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I feel like if you can think of it, someone's done it. So it's probably true. He said he goes to like some type of like club or whatever, like a sex, I don't know. I believe it's a sex worker that's doing this. He's definitely paying her to do this, and he said so he'll have like the puke he like buys from people, which is like his like starter puke, and then he'll like feed it to this girl, and then has her throw it up again, and then he feeds it to her another time, and he'll do that for like a while. It's worse than you could have guessed, isn't it?
Wow.
Because at first I thought the puke thing, I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And then I'm like, wait, you want to buy it so you can feed it to some girl?
But like repetitively. Like it's a cycle.
Also, why can't her puke be the starter puke? At least that would be like slightly, but so gross. It's disturbing.
Like there is an aspect of disturbance there. But not.
He does it really slow.
But I guess it sounds almost like a power thing in the beginning, maybe.
I think so.
I don't know.
It's gotta be. But he also seems to just really like it. He says he has a golden bowl and a golden spoon because it doesn't react with the puke, I guess.
Is he in America?
I believe so.
Okay.
I know he's not in Chicago.
Okay. That's $1,600 though. I
think he's.
But then it would be $8.
I actually talked him up, but I just to see if I could. But it's got. I mean,
once it went down to $8, that would be hard.
Oh yeah, this would be a one-time.
You can see my capitalist mercenary side. 1,600, okay. 800.
Yeah. Fuck no. I'm sorry, no. It is a thing of like when I think about like, okay, I'm like, when I think about it in terms of money, I'm like, would I make myself throw up for $1,600. But I'm like, would I make myself throw up for like, I could cover like a trip to Ireland for a week. Would I throw up for free? Or for a free trip to Ireland, would I make myself throw up? Then
Barfing for Ireland.
I kind of
Barfing for Ireland.
When
I
it's
like this idea.
In terms of experience, I'm like, oh, that seems like a better deal. But in terms of just like the like sum of cash, I'm like, I don't like that. Doesn't really.
But you didn't go.
Me.
Now you didn't go for the pee because I think that'd be the easiest.
Oh yeah, he didn't really want the pee.
Oh.
He talked about it, but he didn't really care about the pee. He was bringing up the pee to like see if I think he was testing the waters to see like if I was interested in the pee.
Oh.
Then he literally like we talked about the pee, and then he was like, because would you be interested in anything more? What did he say? More like messy or something like that. And I was like, what? So
I'm still kind of, I've heard a lot of fetishes in my life, but that is the intricacy, I guess we'll say, the intricacy of people involved is interesting to me. I guess that's where I can go with this. I really can't say anything else because I'm still like, wow, okay, this is on the podcast. This is now on the podcast. So I feel like your bits, the clips you're putting online, because they deal with bodily fluids and panties. You opened the barn door. Is this what happened?
Pandora's nasty box.
So like
disgusting.
Did you just say it's disgusting?
Yeah. My life is different now.
Was it the first?
It's like in the Matrix. I took that fucking pill and I was like, oh no.
I'll take the panty pill.
Yes.
Don't take it. Was it the panty bit that started the ball rolling?
Mm. Yep. It was. I wasn't like completely naive. Like I thought maybe somebody would like, but yeah.
But you were completely naive. You were. But
I didn't think I thought some perverts maybe would show up from like the content, but I couldn't have imagined what would take place.
Are you regretful now?
No.
It's because it's fodder. It's fodder, right?
It's I do genuinely. I mean, it is. I do find it really interesting. Like, I'm kind of a pervert, too. So I kind of get it, but I mean, not like that kind of like. Now I'm like, actually, no, I'm completely vanilla. Once I talk to these guys, I'm like,
I know. I'm like, what kind of pervert are you?
Freak,
right?
But I'm like, no, I'm not even like. No, I'm like, I am completely the tamest, but like, just missionary, and we'll pray and go to bed. Basically, at this point.
And now it's time for my sermon on the pubic mound. I don't do podcast sermons much anymore, but I thought, given the nature of the story we just heard, today might be a good time to do one. We don't cover fetishes a lot on this show, and this is absolutely an extreme one. In fact, even my therapist, who is really sex positive, said, wow, I have never heard of this fetish before. So there you go. It's easy to freak out about a fetish like this because the yuck factor is really high. But I do want to defend it, I guess. Because what is sex positivity? It's based on consent, communication, respect, and non-judgmentalism between adults around sexual matters so that people can explore and make informed choices in their sexual life. While everything in this story is not known, there are some things to consider. In this story, the guy engaged Gena respectfully, gave her a lot of information, and told her what he was going to do and what he wanted her to do. Gena was led to believe the sex worker involved also knew what was going to happen. So, information was given to both Gena and the sex worker, and the guy got consent from the sex worker, as far as we know. Gena didn't want to be engaged eventually and walked away. And it appears there was respectful communication between the guy and Gena. So all that's left is the non-judgmental part, which, given the extreme nature of the fetish, might be difficult to muster, but I'd say that's where the real work is. For myself, hearing this story, I was stupefied, gotta admit it. But later on reflection, when I realized everything was consensual, information was given, respect was involved, and choices were available, I started looking at the story differently. What about you? I'd love to hear from you. Write us at info@wildandsublime.com. Wild and Sublime is supported in part by our Sublime supporter, Full Color Life Therapy. Therapy for all of you at fullcolorlifetherapy.com. Thank you for listening. Know someone who'd like this episode? Send it to them. You can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Wild and Sublime, and sign up for newsletters at wildandsublime.com. Got feedback or an inquiry? Contact us at info@wildandsublime.com. And we'd love a review or rating on your podcast player. I'd like to thank our design guru, Jean-François Gervais. Music by David Ben-Porat. This episode was produced and edited by Christine Ferreira at the Lincoln Lodge Podcast Studio as part of the Lincoln Lodge Podcast Network.